Good afternoon. You're listening to Dr. Amy Dayries. I'm a dentist from Roswell, Georgia. I've been practicing for 23 years, and I've been doing a webinar on sleep, Solve Your Sleep for Better Health. This webinar series is going to coincide with a book I have coming out on Amazon in June of 2019. Today's topic is on herbs to help you stay awake. Last week, we did a seminar on herbs that help you sleep. And the week before that, we did a seminar on how to look at a sleep study, what do professionals look at a sleep study and determine based on the numbers in that study about your diagnosis. And then we're just trying to work through each week something that's going to coincide with learning how to solve your sleep for better health. So without further ado, let's get into our topic, herbs to help you stay awake. And you might say, well, Amy, if you're doing a book topic on sleep, why do we want to do a webinar on staying awake? And the reason is because you might inadvertently be doing some herbs that might be keeping you up at night, or maybe you're in an adrenal failure, or you have a hypothyroid, a low thyroid functioning issue. And so you're looking for a way to kind of kickstart you during the day so you can be efficient while you're working during the day, but then you can also relax at night and finally fall asleep and hopefully learn to heal yourself. Herbs that help you stay awake. And we're going to start with, most of these herbs are adaptogen herbs. We're going to start with one that's called eleuthero. It's also known as Siberian ginseng. And I do have a PowerPoint that we're going to pull up for this. 1 second, let's pull this up. So here we are. And here we are. Herbs to feel more awake. Siberian ginseng, also known as eleuthero. This is an excellent herb if you're looking, you've been wired and tired, as most of us experience with our American lifestyles, where we are burning the candle at both ends, but we're looking to try to continue doing what we're doing. We might be in a happy place, or we might be starting to show the effects of a little bit of fatigue with our work, but we're not in a position right now to be able to cut back or change what we're doing. Maybe we're working on a project or working on a webinar series like I'm doing. And so you're looking to energize yourself without feeling all souped up like you might feel if you had too much caffeine. And you want to be able to sleep at night, but you're looking for a little bit of pep during the day. But you're not in adrenal failure. You're just tired. You're wired and tired. So eleuthero would be a good choice for you. You might use somewhere between a teaspoon and a tablespoon of the ground up root bark or as a powder, and sprinkle it maybe on your cereal or a yogurt, or put it in a smoothie, sort of a greenish brownish color. And as an adaptogen herb, that means that it's going to help bring you back towards a center. It's going to help restore energy. It causes a little bit of mild central nervous system stimulation, and it really just kind of helps you adapt to that stressful situation that you're living, but also on a level enjoying, and you're able to manage fine on this. So it's a very mild sort of stimulant. It does help to mildly lower blood sugar levels if you are a diabetic or you're pre-diabetic, as is about 10% of our population. And it also has been found to reduce mildly hypertension, not to the point where you shouldn't take your hypertension or high blood pressure medicine, but it does help reduce hypertension. And it has also been studied for helping cancer cells not reproduce at the rate they had. Also, if you feel kind of crazy, it helps you with some mental focus, and therefore it can boost your endurance levels to some degree. So then it's recommended here, you might even make it as a tea or you add it to water, but I've also just added it to different foods that I eat or put it on my cereal even in the morning. And it can enhance antibiotic action because it does interfere with the cytochrome P450 liver enzyme pathway, or it's a pathway that enables us to absorb our antibiotics and some other medicines. So if you're on an antibiotic, maybe it's just not the best time for you to be also taking Eleuthero. Adaptogenic herbs and herbs in general are not particularly addicting. So if you can take this for a while and then put it on pause while you're using an antibiotic. The next herb I'd like to speak about is maca. This has been studied for a couple of thousand years, and they're using the root of the maca plant, and it's been used to fight the symptoms of menopause like PMS. It can also mildly reduce blood pressure and reset cholesterol, that HDL to LDL balance, the bad cholesterol to good cholesterol. It helps reset it a little bit better. And it enhances the mood, and along with helping to minimize the symptoms of premenstrual syndrome or menopause, it does seem to encourage women to feel very warmly towards their partner. And it has also been studied for cancer research in terms of its ability to help fight free radicals. And the recommended dose would be between 1 teaspoon and 1 tablespoon if you like to use the powdered form of the herb. Rhodiola is kind of a cool herb because the Vikings were said to use it. They would bring the plants, or they would harvest the plants where they were doing their looting and rabble rousing. And it also was said to enable them to be able to swim in very cool temperatures. So it's a very stimulating, more stimulating than the maca or the Eleuthero herb to help give you energy. To me, it might even make you feel like you've had a very large Mountain Dew if you're into sodas, or you used to be into sodas. So it could be overstimulating. It has, for some, it has been studied in people that suffer from autoimmune troubles like rheumatoid arthritis or lupus, and it has been very helpful to increase energy in people that have those autoimmune types of conditions. And if you battle depression, it can give you a mood lift. And it is available in either tincture, which is where they've soaked the flowers and the leaves in an alcohol, a glycerin, or like a vodka. You can take just a dropper full of it for the effects that we're looking for, or you can actually take it as a capsule. And it's available in a powder, but I've seen it more so in these capsules or the tincture forms. And this is also something that you might take. I want to very much distinguish rhodiola from Eleuthero. It's one that you might take if you've already experienced like an adrenal failure or an adrenal burnout, because it really is a stronger bounce for your energy levels. And so if you're coming from a place of being very tired, it's a good herb to start with. And St. John's wort is another excellent herb choice if you tend towards fighting with chronic pain or depression. The big caveat with St. John's wort is it can impact if you take something like Prozac, a serotonin reuptake inhibitor type of antidepressant. You don't want to mix it with antidepressants, St. John's wort. The other thing it's been studied for is it seems to have a gradual application, or the effects of the herb will gradually increase over the number of weeks that you've taken it. So if maybe you're fighting a little bit of mild depression, traditionally you would take it for several months before you decided if it was very effective. So it's not one that you can take and think, oh, I'm going to totally feel better tomorrow or the next day. But it's one that's going to have a gradual cumulative sort of building effect. You want to be careful in somebody that maybe has had addiction issues in the past, or they're on an antidepressant already, like I mentioned. But I have actually had really nice success recommending it as a tea, which is a very mild form of St. John's wort. And again, I mentioned this in last week's webinar. for a tea form of an herb, it's suggested that you drink 2 or 3 cups of the tea. But it's a beautiful tea. St. John's wort, it's when they harvest either the flowers or these little berries, and it's the berries sort of ripen and turn red like this around St. John the Baptist's birthday, late spring, and it makes this beautiful red color. And it's you can actually use the tea as a poultice too on a place where you've got pain, maybe like a shingles, a shingles type of lesion or some other type of cut or wound. But it's just a mood lifter, and it's gentle. And I've had very good success recommending to patients in the tea form when maybe they've had a past history of depression or maybe a past history of drug use, but they're trying to stay clean and they just need a little bit of a lift. So that's been my experience with it, and it's been very, very helpful. And I've really actually received some unexpected thank yous from patients who like to try this, and they use it when they're just feeling a little bit more down. It's also been studied for seasonal affective disorder, SAD, which is that type of person that gets more depressed during the winter time. So, and again, they've enjoyed it as tea, although it is available also as a capsule or as a tincture, or you can use it as a poultice if you have some achy places or cuts on you. And as I guess looks like my slide says, it's usually effective after 2 to 6 weeks. I would say a good month, generally speaking, before you really notice the difference. You don't want to use it if you're pregnant, again, and you don't want to use it if you're you have a history of drug abuse, or you've been on a serotonin reuptake antidepressant and warfarin and HIV drugs. And it could cause, if you're very, very fair skinned and you had a lot of exposure to it before you went out in the sun, it might make you a little bit more prone to sunburn. So I just want to mention those things about it. Shatavari is also known as Indian asparagus, and it's sort of funny. It translates to she of 100 husbands, and it does seem to increase mucus, or the mucus from the mucosal linings of different tissues within a female. It's generally taken by a female, and it's supposed to help with fertility troubles. It's also got some phytoestrogens, so it can be used to treat mood swings with PMS, menstrual cramps, and it can be also used as an antacid. And you can buy this as a powder, again, put it in your smoothie. It's kind of a nice flavor to a fruit smoothie in the morning, and it can be safely used for many, many years, just to give you a gentle lift. So it's not the strength of rhodiola. It doesn't have the adrenal type of capacity that rhodiola or eleutheroid has, but it can increase energy, just generally speaking. And they recommend 1 gram a day, which is about the weight of a paperclip. But if you're having a lot of mood swings, you can go up a bit. And then I just wanted to say a word about caffeine. Since caffeine is our #1 chemical derived from plants like coffee or tea that we use really around the world. So the average American is consuming 300 milligrams a day, which is the equivalent of several cups of coffee. And you might notice on our slide here that you can also, of course, derive caffeine from pills that people take, like Vivarin, or some of the energy drinks like Monster that's out there, or black tea. So traditionally a soda or a tea is going to have about half the caffeine that a black coffee will. But then those caffeinated drinks or the caffeine pills that are available over the counter have the equivalent of 2 or 3 cups of coffee in one dose. And there have been studies done, or people that are coming out who are routinely imbibing the caffeine drinks that are on the market. And I'm not talking about the coffee or the tea, but some of the other drinks, the energy drinks. And some of those people are, when they're having multiple drinks of that nature during the day over a period of time, some of them are beginning to show that they're having some heart issues. So it seems to be that, speed, back in the 70s, people would get hooked on speed. And that was the equivalent of about 500 or 600 milligrams of caffeine in effect. But those drinks can really kind of give you the effect of being on speed, and it's increases your pulse, your heart rate. In other words, it can mildly increase your blood pressure. And I think we're not going to know for a number of years what the overall effect is if you drink some of those things on a daily basis, multiples of those drinks on a daily basis. So I really always suggest to my patients that they want to go as natural as possible in terms of the chemical content. And I would prefer if you make your own drinks, whatever those drinks are. I recommend a filtered water system for anyone out there, even if you're on what should be a safe municipal water supply. Environmental Working Group, the website for them is ewg.org, is a really great website found here in the United States, where you can actually Google your zip code and it will give you instant feedback on the number of times in the last year that your municipal water may or may not have passed muster for the chemicals that are being regulated in the water. Chemicals from fertilizer to drugs to other types of industrial waste products. So I know in my county, I'm in Fulton County, which is in Georgia, and then the last year we didn't pass muster about 6 times. And I don't know about you out there, but I don't really have time to watch all the daily news. So, you know, it might be out there that I'm supposed to boil my water today, but first of all, somebody had to figure out after the water was released that it was time to boil the water. And second of all, I didn't get to watch that show because I was at work. So I wouldn't have known the difference. So I just recommend, generally speaking, people probably filter their water and make your own drink, because then you know more or less how strong or weak your coffee and tea are. You're not going to be adding other chemicals like colorants or sweeteners. It is what you are, what you eat, and you're going to know and have a lot better control over what's inside you in terms of chemicals if you're doing things like filtering your water and making your own beverages. Also, a lot of people ask me, well, Amy, what about adding sugar or honey to my teas and coffees? I would say honey, as a rule, is not too bad, although for about a teaspoon of honey, you're looking at about 60 to 75 calories. But if you maybe suffer from a lot of local allergies and you have a localized honey, a honey that was actually harvested from bees and flowers in your area, it can be an adjunct, a natural adjunct for allergies. And but it's a number of calories, and the sugar plus the slight acidity of coffee or tea are going to cause some tooth damage. Remember, I'm a dentist, and I can tell you that it takes about 15 minutes after you've had a swallow of a drink for the pH in your mouth to change or go back to being more neutral, which is a pH of about 7. And it's when cavities happen in that first 15 minutes after that exposure to the drink. So it's almost doesn't matter if it's one sip or a whole cup of something that's acidic. But these energy drinks and sodas oftentimes will have an acid level in the 1 to 2.0 range, and battery acid is about a 1.1 pH, and water, plain water, is about a 7.0. So cavities happen with a pH under 6.8 in your mouth. So you want to be mindful of what you're putting in your body really at all times. And if you really need that drink or that sports drink, you want to drink it more quickly. So that was just a word on caffeine, and I do tend to get off on tangents and on water and some of the herbs. So I'll just recap. You have, I would say, for a mild stimulant that's not going to keep you up, but it gives you a little bit of a buzz, that would be eleuthero. There are other types of ginseng. You have Chinese and American ginseng. Those are traditionally used more in men, the Chinese or the American ginseng. Chinese ginseng, if the man is also having histories of prostate issues, urinary tract problems, and or cold hands and feet. And then the American ginseng isn't as strong as in those types of effects, but it's sort of a general lifting. But the Siberian ginseng is a little bit milder than both of those, and that's a really nice one for just an energy boost with your day, and not traditionally used for men or women, but for anyone. And then if you need something um, a lot more enhancing in terms of energy, then that's when I would go with your rhodiola. And I think that's really about it for this week. Next week, we're going to do a longer webinar. It's a lot longer than today's webinar. And that webinar's topic is going to be on the relationship of your sleep to the inflammation from your diet and in your body, and the relationship to sleep and exercise. And I've got quite a long chapter in my book on this topic. And it's probably one of my favorite soapbox things to talk about. I'm going to generally try to keep webinars to about 30 minutes at a time. And I'm going to be airing these at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday nights. That's Eastern Standard Time. And if you would like to subscribe to these webinars, please feel free to reach out to me, Amy Dayries. And all you need to do is you go to the internet, look up wholehealingdental.com, and you can also see radio broadcasts from the United Intentions radio show that I call the Whole Healing Radio Show. It's where I'm a host. And if you want to just reach out to me via email, that email address would be amy@wholehealingdental.com. So I look forward to seeing you next week at 7:30, and we're going to break now for a little Q&A. Thanks, everybody.